Hello, welcome back to the Breaking News Update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news to brief you all on today. So today's date is May 26, 2025, and it's Monday. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys all had a wonderful weekend, and I hope you're enjoying your Memorial Day today. We've got so much news to cover, so I want to dive right into this. We're going to talk about massive attacks inside of Ukraine and Russia last night once again. I feel like this whole weekend is just probably some of the worst attacks we've seen, especially inside of Ukraine throughout the duration of this war. Just on Saturday or early Sunday morning, we had massive attacks across Ukraine. Ukraine was hit by like somewhere around 70 missiles and hundreds of drones. Same thing happening again last night. But let's start off with this story here on your screen. Ukrainian drones target a Russian Shahid factory and chemical plant overnight. Russian air defenses opened fire against drones near the Yelabuga drone production site in Russia's Tatarstan Republic, while other drones attacked a chemical plant in Ivanovo Oblast. So allegedly, the Ukrainians fired at least 150 drones into Russia last night. This is video footage coming out showing some sort of factory being hit. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, if it was one of these indicated here, because we also have information an alloy plant producing metals was hit as well, or at least reportedly targeted. Inside of Ukraine, Ukraine was attacked by 355 drones last night. 9 missiles also targeting Ukraine. We even have information from Friedrich Merz today, the German chancellor. He's stating that apparently all restrictions on deep strikes inside of Russia have been lifted. That's from the entire West. That includes the United States. So even like the UK handing over these Storm Shadow missiles, reportedly restrictions have been lifted, and we've heard this before. So I wonder if Ukraine's going to start striking targets inside of Russia with some of the weaponry that the West is giving them, and does this possibly indicate that Taurus missiles, are going to be handed over to Ukraine very soon for strikes inside of Russia as well? We also have a story that just broke yesterday that U.S. President Donald Trump was coming out speaking to reporters, calling Vladimir Putin crazy, saying that something's wrong with him, that he's striking all these cities with missiles. But yes, this has been happening throughout the whole duration of this war. I don't know why it's such a surprise to Trump, but allegedly he's coming out over the last 24 hours now calling Vladimir Putin crazy. So just lots of news to cover today, guys. Let's jump into this. We're going to hop on over here to X with Max25, and he says, massive drone attack on Russia, map from Drone Bomber. So these were the trajectory of a lot of these drones entering into Russia last night. I think it was more than 150 that were fired into Russia, probably 200-300 or more. I mean, just look at this map. That's a lot of drones going into Russia. We can see the same territories or oblasts being attacked that we've been seeing a lot recently, especially up near Moscow. We did have some videos coming out of some explosions up near Moscow, but looks like a lot of the regions being attacked up here, like Vladimir, Ivanovo, Ryazan was apparently reportedly being attacked as well, just all over the place. Then you have some of these drones going this direction to that drone production facility in the Republic of Tatarstan. That's more like getting closer to central Russia. So crazy map coming out from Drone Bomber there. Now from NOAA reports, explosive morning in Russia. Ukrainian UAVs, besides targeting a Shahid drone plant, attacked a chemical factory in Ivanovo region and an alloy plant. Reports suggest 100-plus drones again, and Tula alone, 12-plus explosions were reported. Power reportedly went out in several districts. So we got a couple videos we can show you guys here. You're going to be able to see some direct hits from some of these drones, especially this one right here, or actually these two, you're going to see direct hits. But we'll start off with this video here. All right, just a quick clip here. You can't really hear a whole lot, but if you were noticing up in the sky, a little bit of glistening and lights popping up in the skies over here inside of Russia, that was probably Russian air defense teams trying to take down a drone in the skies incoming. Got another video coming up.
Бать, пошел вниз. Ебать.
Бля.
Ничего себе. Вот это перелет.
All right, in this video, we can see a direct strike with the Ukrainian drone. You can see it there just on the bottom of the screen, right before it crashed into some sort of factory or facility inside of Russia. If you notice here too, it's also either late in the day or possibly early this morning when this strike took place. So we had drones just ongoing for probably well more than 8 or 12 hours throughout the night. And striking some sort of facility over here. We just don't know exactly which one that is. Here's another video coming out.
Завод!
All right, we'll go ahead and pause it there, guys. And I did have another video earlier that was showing that what that man was shouting was he was saying factory. So I'm thinking maybe this is that drone facility factory that was being targeted in the Republic of Tatarstan, or it could have also been that chemical factory up in the Ivanova region, because if you notice also, this is a Ukrainian Ilyusy drone, and usually they use these for deep strikes inside of Russia. I think the range on these is somewhere around 11 or 1200 kilometers deep into Russia they can target with. So I'm thinking that's probably what was being hit here in this video. So let's move on to Ozone Technical now. Overnight, Ukrainian attack drone struck Russia's Dmitrievsky chemical plant, a major production facility in the city of Kineshima, if I'm saying that right. Local government confirmed that at least one drone hit the facility located near 500 miles or 800 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. So here's a picture coming out from this chemical plant, okay, in the city of Kineshima, inside of Russian territory. We had a direct strike over here, and you can see a lot of smoke. Some of it even looks a little bit orangish, possibly indicating the burning of chemicals. So we had at least one direct strike on another chemical plant inside of Russia overnight. Here's another video from Military News UA. At night, kamikaze drones attacked a factory in the city of Yelabuga, Tatarstan, where Shahed kamikaze drones are produced. So what you're going to see here is Russian air defenses, probably a Panzer S-1 air defense system, trying to intercept incoming drones. You're going to see like kind of flares going off and everywhere from this interceptor trying to fly up and take out this drone. So take a look at this.
Ебать!
Ебать! По нам сейчас не пойдем.
Ебать, что за хуйня? Ебать!
All right, if you look closely here, there's some smoke that starts to build right over here in the center of your screen. It is a little tiny, so it might be hard to see, but it looks like we did have some sort of direct strike. Maybe that interceptor failed to bring down this drone and it crashed. Don't really know all the details, but allegedly this is video footage coming out from that drone production plant in the Republic of Tatarstan being attacked. Now from Igor Sushko, Russia, multiple military factories blown up by Ukrainian drones and Tula. So here's that video showing some sort of strike on a factory inside of Russia with sound. Take a look.
Ебать!
Это они по заводу уже хуйня.
По заводу, блядь! Блядь, я как на работу идти завтра, блядь.
All right, so this is the video we had for you guys on the waiting screen when you came in. Just wanted to show it to you with sound. Direct strike on some sort of factory over here inside of Russia. So Ukraine did have some success hitting some factories last night. Now from LX Summer 1, Kursk People's Republic, fire on Yendovishchenskaya. If I'm saying that correctly, that's a really long word. There's no official information yet. Okay, so in the Kursk region of Russia, we had some sort of fire breaking out. Looks like possibly maybe somebody's home, probably drones entering into Kursk, crashing over there. We know the Russians do have a lot of air defense systems set up in the Kursk region, so maybe they happened to shoot down a drone or suppressed it by electronic warfare and it crashed, started a fire over here. So that was video coming out from the Kursk region of Russia. Now let's move on to talking about German Chancellor Friedrich Merz here, and this from Anton Gerashenko. He said there are no longer any range restrictions on weapons supplied to Ukraine, not from the British, not from the French, not from us, not from the Americans either. This means that Ukraine can now also defend itself by attacking military positions in Russia, for example. It couldn't do that until some time ago, and with very few exceptions, it didn't do that until some time ago. Now it can. In jargon, we call this long-range fire, equipping Ukraine with weapons that attack military targets in the rear. And that is the decisive qualitative difference in Ukraine's warfare. Russia's attacks attack civilian targets absolute ruthlessly, Bombing cities, kindergartens, hospitals, and old people's homes, Ukraine does not do that, and we attach great importance to keeping it that way. But a country that can only defend itself against an attacker on its own territory is not defending itself adequately. And this defense of Ukraine is now also taking place against military infrastructure on Russian territory. So we're going to be seeing some strikes over here inside of Russia very soon, guys. Take a look at this statement from Friedrich Merz.
Beschränkungen mehr für Waffen, die an die Ukraine geliefert worden sind, weder von den Briten noch von den Franzosen noch von uns, von den Amerikanern auch nicht. Das heißt also, die Ukraine kann sich jetzt auch verteidigen, indem sie zum Beispiel militärische Stellungen in Russland angreift. Das konnte sie bis vor einiger Zeit nicht. Das hat sie bis vor einiger Zeit auch bis auf ganz wenige Ausnahmen nicht getan. Das kann sie jetzt. Wir nennen das im Jargon Long Range Fire, also auch mit Waffen die Ukraine auszustatten, die militärische Ziele im Hinterland angreifen. Und das ist der entscheidende qualitative Unterschied in der Kriegsführung der Ukraine. Russland greift völlig rücksichtslos zivile Ziele an, bombardiert Städte, Kindergärten, Krankenhäuser, Altenheime. Das tut die Ukraine nicht. Und da legen wir auch sehr viel Wert darauf, dass das so bleibt. Aber ein Land, das sich nur im eigenen Territorium einem Angreifer entgegenstellen kann, verteidigt sich nicht ausreichend. So, und diese Verteidigung der Ukraine, die findet jetzt eben auch gegen militärische Infrastruktur auf russischem Staatsgebiet statt.
Okay, so my apologies, guys, for the muted sound in the beginning there. But we can clearly see from Friedrich Merz, he's very pro-Ukraine and he wants to allow Ukraine to strike inside of Russian territory. And we've been hearing for months now that Friedrich Merz might allow the release of Taurus missiles to Ukraine. So I have a feeling that's what's coming next. We're going to have Taurus missiles going to Ukraine, and Ukraine is going to be striking targets again inside of Russia, going after military bases and whatnot, airfields, but using missiles that are supplied by the West. Looks like we're going to see more of that here coming up very soon. Now from next, Zelensky will arrive in Berlin on Wednesday for an official visit, Der Spiegel reports. The main topic of discussion will be talks between Ukraine and Russia. In addition, sanctions will be on the agenda. Behind the scenes, planners are also preparing, for example, how Germany could support the Ukrainian defense industry in producing long-range weapons, the outlet notes. Okay, so Der Spiegel out of Germany reporting that looks like Zelensky's going to be meeting with Friedrich Merz here very soon, heading to Berlin. And on Wednesday, so they'll be talking about probably sanctions, and on top of that, possibly producing long-range strike weapons to strike inside of Russian territory. And that's on top of this follow-up with this video that I just showed you guys of Friedrich Merz saying Ukraine needs the ability to strike inside Russian territory. Now from Max 25, Trump, I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time. I've gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it. This was according to Sky News. He adds, I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people and something happened to this guy, and I don't like it. All right, so Trump coming out again, stating that he's not happy with Vladimir Putin in regards to this war. We already know that Putin's been playing Trump like a fiddle, and calling Trump and saying, hey, we're going to be ready to end this war, but then on the back end, launching missiles and drones into Ukraine, killing innocent civilians repeatedly on a daily basis. So I'm not sure, is this just more foreplay from Trump and theatrical nonsense coming out from Trump? We'll have to see what's going to happen here. We're still waiting for direct action, sanctions onto Russia. Put some action instead of just speaking. But so far, we're just seeing statements coming out from Trump. But that was from him yesterday. Now from Mosin Defender, adding to his statement today to reporters, U.S. President Donald J. Trump said in a post tonight on Truth Social, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has gone absolutely crazy, further stating he is needlessly killing a lot of people. And I'm not just talking about soldiers. Missiles and drones are being shot into cities in Ukraine for no reason whatsoever. I've always said that he wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it. Maybe that's proven to be right. But if he does, it will lead to the downfall of Russia. So take a look at this statement from Trump on Truth Social today. I've always had a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin of Russia, but something has happened to him. He's gone absolutely crazy. He is needlessly killing a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about soldiers. Missiles and drones are being shot into cities in Ukraine for no reason whatsoever. I've always said that he wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it. Maybe that's proven to be right. But if he does, it will lead to the downfall of Russia. Likewise, President Zelensky is doing his country no favors by talking the way he does. Everything out of his mouth causes problems. I don't like it, and it better stop. This is a war that would never have started if I were president. This is Zelensky's, Putin's, and Biden's war, not Trump's. I'm only helping out the big and put out the big and ugly fires, that have been started through gross incompetence and hatred. So Trump excluding himself from any blame on trying to end this war is what I see here, putting the blame back onto Zelensky and also Biden, which we've heard so many times in the past. But him also calling out Putin, and saying that Putin's gone crazy. So isn't that pretty insane to think about, that Trump is so serious about doing business with somebody that he's calling crazy? It's just, when you think about that, that's a pretty wild thought to even consider. And it makes you wonder if Trump's position is going to change here. I'm thinking it probably won't. This will probably be a one and done kind of scenario. He'll state this, and then after a while, probably go right back to the same notion that he's kind of been going with recently. But that was a statement from Trump today. Now from next to Macron, Trump has finally realized Putin is lying to him. I believe President Trump now understands that when Putin said he was ready for peace, he lied to him. In recent hours, we've got once again witnessed an outburst of anger from Donald Trump. It's kind of impatience. Now I just want to turn that into concrete action, said the French president. So Macron coming out saying, Trump realizes Putin lied to him, and now that you feel this way, okay, put some action behind it. Don't just be speaking. Actually sanction Russia. Do something to put some pressure onto Russia, because we haven't seen that at all yet. We've seen major pressure being put onto Ukraine repeatedly, but nothing in terms of pressure on Russia. Now from Savchenko Volodymyr, Macron wants to set a deadline for Russia to agree to a ceasefire accompanied by threats of massive sanctions. We'll see how this goes, guys, but looks like Macron calling for a deadline or trying to set one in the future to force Russia to peace. If not, massive sanctions will be placed onto Russia. I mean, we've heard this multiple times in the past. Nothing happens here. It really seems like it depends on how Trump responds, because if Trump doesn't come out and respond with sanctions or anything like that, the West doesn't really follow up with that, aside from maybe the EU. The EU's been rolling out their sanctions, but we'll see how that goes. But allegedly, he wants to set up some sort of deadline. Now from Max 25, Kremlin responds to Trump's remarks calling Vladimir Putin crazy, saying such comments likely reflect some emotional overload at this crucial moment. Isn't that a crazy statement as well, coming out from the Kremlin? I'm pretty much just kind of making fun of Trump and just saying, oh, he's just having emotional overload. It's just, it's a crazy situation right now. So he's probably just upset, and maybe it'll roll over and things will disappear and he won't be feeling that way anymore, is kind of what I'm saying from the Kremlin. But that was their response to Trump in regards to his crazy statement towards Vladimir Putin. Now from Anton Gerashenko, after President Trump called Putin absolutely crazy, the Russia stock market lost about 100 billion rubles in several hours, Russian media report. Gazprom stock has fallen by 3.5%. Russian Sberbank and VTB Bank stocks have fallen by 1.5% and 2.4%, respectively, due to information that the EU might disconnect 20 more Russian banks from SWIFT. Economic pressure on Russia must become stronger. So yeah, look how quickly the stock market reacts to anything that Trump states. Like that's how we really know that if Trump were to really put pressure onto Russia, it could definitely do some major damage. Now, could it stop the war? We don't really know until action is actually taken, but look at how sensitive the stock market is just to Trump literally calling Vladimir Putin crazy. Immediately just completely crashing, losing more than 100 billion rubles in just a matter of hours. So we'll have to see what happens here, but I think if Trump does put some action and sanctions Russia or does something extreme, we could see some sort of reactionary thing coming from the Russian side, and their economy could definitely take a huge hit. And could it force them to end this war? You guys let me know what you think. Now from Ukrainian Review, massive attack on Ukraine at night again. Kiev, Odessa, Sumy, Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, and Khmelnytskyi regions were under attack. Okay, pictures coming out from destruction inside of Ukraine last night. We had homes being destroyed, fires breaking out all over the place. 355 drones going into Ukraine last night. It looks like a good majority were shot down from the information I have for you guys in a little bit, but nonetheless, some strikes inside of Ukraine. Now for more translated, Kiev residents spend the night in the metro as heavy shelling continues. So we got video and pictures coming out from the metro station inside of Kiev during the nightly attacks last night. right, so we can see here the metro inside of Kiev last night. A lot of Ukrainian citizens taking shelter down here to protect themselves from aerial bombardments coming from the Russians. So again, over 300 drones, 9 missiles fired into Ukraine last night, and just the night before we had like 70 missiles roughly going into Ukraine. So the Russians are very upset right now. Now for no reports, within 48 hours, Russia launched another wave of strikes across Ukraine, hitting Kiev, Kharkiv, Khmelnytsky, Zaporizhzhia, Odessa, and Sumy. Multiple civilians injured, homes and infrastructure damaged, and fires reported. Russia has no intention to stop the war at all, and that's a very true statement. I mean, this really shows if Russia's attacking all these regions repeatedly, launching all these drones, attacking civilians especially, not just military sites, but civilians, destroying homes and whatnot. This shows that Russia really has no real intention of stopping the war. They are very serious to continue the fighting. Now from Bliskovka, a 67-year-old woman was injured in a Russian strike in the Sumy region, according to the regional military administration. She was just working in the garden near her house when it was hit by a cluster munition. Another woman was wounded and hospitalized. So this reminds me of a story that came out just the other day. I think it was in Kiev, or it could have been another city inside of Ukraine, and a Russian missile struck very close to where a woman was in her garden, and she was a younger woman, probably in her 20s or something, and she had a daughter. And unfortunately, she got hit by the shrapnel, from one of these missiles incoming, and it killed her in her garden. And now we're seeing something very similar to that as well. Somebody working near a garden hit by a cluster munition. Okay, so very crazy. Woman was wounded and hospitalized as well. Very sad, people losing their lives and being injured in these attacks. Now, from War Translated, the warhead of an X-101 missile was found in the yard of a private house in the Kiev region, according to the Mobile Rescue Center of the State's Emergency Service. Explosive experts transported the munition to a special site for disposal. So take a look at this as well. This is a warhead of an X-101 missile found. I mean, imagine walking outside of your front yard and there's just a missile warhead laying right there. I mean, I wouldn't even know what to do. I would get away from that area as quick as possible just in case that thing happens to detonate. But this was a picture of a demining vehicle taking this warhead out and take it away for safety reasons, so that way nobody gets injured in this. But crazy that this warhead was just sitting right there in someone's driveway is what it looks like. Now from Bliskovka, only a sense of complete impunity can allow Russia to inflict such strikes and constantly increase the scale. Volodymyr Zelensky reacted to the nightly shelling of Ukraine. This does not make any significant military sense, but there is significant political sense. Thus, Putin demonstrates how much he despises the world, which spends more effort on dialogue with him than on pressure, the president added. So Zelensky coming out today, the president of Ukraine, calling on the West, saying, come on, where's the pressure on Putin? Why, after this repeated attacks on Ukraine like this and attacking civilians like what you see here, civilian infrastructure being destroyed all over Ukraine, why is the West not supporting massive pressure and sanctions onto Russia, especially the United States? Now, Europe is doing that to an extent. The EU's been rolling out sanctions, but at the same time, the U.S. could be doing a lot more, and right now they're not doing that. Now for Max 25, Ukrainian skies saw over 2,000 Shahed drones in 20 days. On May 24th to the 25th, Russia launched 300 drones and 69 missiles. The night before, 250 drones and 14 ballistic missiles. In 2024, Ukraine's success rate against Shaheds was more than 90%. Now it drops to 30%. Commander Yakut, since January, Shahed drones fly at 2,000 to 3,000 meters instead of 200. We can't reach them with our cannons anymore, so that's very scary. I mean, we've been hearing that the Russians have been upgrading their Shahed drones, and they're much harder to shoot down now, also with a larger warhead on top of that. So that's not good news that they're struggling to shoot these down. But over the last 24 hours, the report I have for you guys indicates that a good majority were shot down again. And we've been seeing this, that on average over the last week now, there's been 70, 80, 90% of these drones being shot down, sometimes almost 100% in some cases. Now from Ukrainian Review, Russia has launched assault operations on Sumy region. The Russian armed forces are trying to advance on Kostiantynivka and Vladimivka. Spokesperson of the State Border Service of Ukraine, Andriy Demchenko, emphasizes that the occupiers have become most active in the areas of the villages of Basivka and Zurovka. He also confirms the movement of assault groups in the areas of Veselivka and Volodymyrivka. They're trying to break through the border into our territory, but the armed forces of Ukraine are repelling and restraining the enemy. Meanwhile, Russia's becoming increasingly aggressive on the battlefield. They're massively shelling our positions with artillery, dropping drones and KABs, which are guided aerial bombs. So, up in the northern side of the Sumy region, we had a report that I gave you guys, I think it was on Friday or Saturday of last week, that the Russians are controlling a few settlements over here. Looks like 4 of them in total. Now we've got reports over here just to the west that the Russians are also trying to storm over the border in this area as well. So this is not looking good. So far, Ukraine's holding them back, but it could be a matter of time. Maybe the Russians will make another breakthrough and expand the territory that they're currently controlling inside of Ukraine. This red right here is inside the Sumy region. Okay, so the Russians are starting to push back in to the Sumy region and take advantage of Ukraine's pullout from the Kursk region. Now, we understand that Ukraine is still kind of operating inside the Kursk region, but much small amounts of land compared to what we saw before, so not looking good in Sumy. Now, for Max 25, NATO allies have been in recent talks for weeks about finding another Patriot system for Ukraine, potentially from somewhere in Europe, but there's been no breakthrough, according to Washington Post. There are discussions like, we can give this one up, but then we want a new one for a cheaper price, one of the officials said. The question of air defenses is to be discussed when Pete Hegseth visits NATO headquarters for a meeting in early June. This official said, adding that an announcement could come around then of a Patriot pledge to Ukraine, but not from the United States. The Trump administration appears loath to make big announcements on weapons deliveries to Kiev, believing that could derail negotiations, he added. So here's a report from the Washington Post. Slammed by Russian missiles, Ukraine seeks more U.S. air defense systems amid worldwide demand and slow production of Patriot missiles. Few countries are willing to send more to Ukraine. The U.S. also fears antagonizing Russia. So a lot of these European nations very afraid of sending these systems over to Ukraine because they're just so scarce right now. We heard from Marco Rubio just last week, the U.S. Secretary of State, that the U.S. has no more extra Patriot systems and they're running out of missiles to send to Ukraine. Ukraine is expending a lot of these missiles more than they can produce them. So that's not looking good, okay? And Ukraine's going to be running out of air defense more and more every day, and then all at the same time while Russia is massively attacking Ukraine. So Ukraine's not in a good position right now, considering that Europe cannot give up any Patriot systems. Now for Bliskovka, Belarus has no nuclear weapons despite the statements about Oreshnik, said the head of Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, Ole Ivashenko. According to him, the weapons are carried by airplanes. The Iskander operational tactical missile system, places for its storage, are also being prepared, but there are no warheads themselves. Lukashenko stated that Oreshnik would appear by the end of the year, but Ivashenko called this unlikely and wishful thinking. So apparently this gentleman, part of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, Ole Ivashenko, was in some sort of interview in the last 24 hours. This is what he stated, that Belarus has no nuclear weapons, and this refutes the claims by Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, claiming numerous times that they have nuclear weapons. They've got Iskander ballistic missiles over there with nuclear warheads. They're going to be getting Oreshnik here very soon by the end of the year. And Ivashenko here is claiming that that's most likely not going to be the case, that Belarus will not be receiving the Oreshnik. So we'll see with that, but that's a new update regarding what Belarus has in terms of nuclear weapons. So now from Ukrainian Review, the head of Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, Ivashenko, also stated Russia plans have not changed. They want to take full control over Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions, but they cannot fully implement their plan. They also want to create a so-called security zone on the territory of the Kharkiv, Sumy, and Chernihiv regions. However, they no longer have the same resources. If earlier they dreamed of 30 kilometers in depth, they now dream of 5 to 10 kilometers in depth. So apparently Russian plans to attack Ukraine, set up this buffer zone in the Chernihiv, Sumy, and also Kharkiv regions is still a thing, but apparently they don't have the resources to take over as much territory and set up as wide of a buffer zone into Ukraine, according to this information here from the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, Ivashenko. So that's what he stated today. You guys can let me know what you think on that, but apparently the Russians do not have the resources to completely set up this buffer zone in Ukraine the way that they want to. Now from Savchenko, Volodymyr, AFU have run out of missiles for SAMP-T batteries, Le Monde reports. Ukraine has not only received ammunition for the French-made Krotalia air defense system for a long time. According to the officer, today we have nothing to protect the south of Ukraine. Very bad news again, guys. This reminds me, if you guys remember last year when Ukraine was running out of artillery shells, and during that time, Russia was really pressing forward. Now they've got a lot of artillery shells. They've got like 2-3 million a year. And now we're hearing they're running out of air defense systems. That's where Ukraine's going to be weak right now. If Russia starts hammering Ukraine with ballistic missiles and drones every night, they're not going to be able to bring a lot of these down. We're going to have a lot more innocent people inside of Ukraine losing their lives and being affected by these strikes. Very sad news there. Now from NOAA Reports, Representative Don Bacon, it's time to arm Ukraine to the teeth and impose maximum sanctions on Russia. He stressed that peace has no effect on Putin and called for honesty about his goal to dominate Ukraine. Putin will only stop when he knows he cannot win. So it looks like a lot of, like senators out of Congress and U.S. House representatives, congressmen and women appear to really understand the way this war is really unfolding and what's actually going on over here, who's the real aggressor, whose ambitions are to really take over Ukraine. Clearly, Russia wants to do that. So he's now calling on the West to, arm Ukraine to the teeth, give them everything necessary to fight this war. And I believe that's a very important thing. Ukraine clearly needs air defense systems right now, but they also need strike weapons to go after Russia as well. So let's see what happens here. Is the U.S. going to flip the script and now start arming Ukraine, or are we going to still see the opposite, where they're going to basically give Ukraine nothing here, especially with all this aid that's supposed to be ending from the Biden administration in the next month or two? So a lot could really happen over here in this war. Now from Bliskovka, Russia has about 500 ballistic missiles ready for use, The Economist reports. The publication also writes that the sixth version of the Shahed does not respond to electronic warfare, as it is controlled by artificial intelligence and uses Ukrainian mobile communications and the internet. Also, according to their data, Russia plans to increase the production of drones to 500 units per day. This could lead to massive attacks up to 1,000 drones at a time. So this is what I'm talking about as well. Okay, another report coming out for The Economist says Russia's raining hellfire in Ukraine. New attacks push its air defenses to saturation point. So this amount of attacks going into Ukraine repeatedly is going to exhaust a lot of Ukraine's air defense systems. And with the upgrade of the missiles that they're shooting into Ukraine right now, the drones being upgraded, it's going to make it more difficult for Ukraine to defend itself from these attacks. This might also be why we're hearing today from Friedrich Merz that the entire West is lifting all restrictions, letting Ukraine just unleash hell onto Russia as well, go after their military sites, airfields, and whatnot, using missiles produced by the West. But we'll see if that will be enough to change the tide here in this war. Now from Ukrainian Review, Ukrainian military intelligence says it has documents that suggest Russia plans to increase production to 500 days, suggest this attack swarms of 1,000 could be a reality, according to The Economist. So this was just another graph that I wanted to show you guys, showing the increase in production throughout the last 2 years, especially from 2023. Look at how much Russia's massively producing drones right now. So this is very dangerous, guys. This means lots of heavy attacks taking place inside of Ukraine, and this could be repeated on a daily basis, maybe 500 or more, up to 1,000 drones from the Russians. Now for NOAA Reports, in one of his toughest speeches since the war began, Senator Lindsey Graham warned Russia to end the bloodshed or face bone-crushing sanctions. He called out China and India as enablers if they continue buying Russian oil, declared the U.S. will no longer be a bystander, and affirmed that the Senate is taking the lead. So this was a statement coming out from U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, who's leading the charge with this whole 500% tariffs bill that will put a major strain on Russia's economy if they tariff Russian exports of oil, and also, selling oil to other countries. If they start putting secondary tariffs onto other nations that heavily buy Russian oil, like India and China, then that's going to be a big deal as well. So we'll see what happens with that. We're still hearing a lot of talk, not a whole lot of action, but maybe this week we might get more news on that. Now from Max 25, Ukrainian team discovered a note inside one of the drones they were dismantling, which hinted at a new control algorithm. According to The Economist, the drones are controlled via bots on Telegram, sending flight data and live video feed back to human operators in real time. Okay, so this is just not good news at all, guys. I mean, we're hearing that many of these drones sometimes controlled by AI. Apparently, the Russians have drones that can make their own decisions without the use of a human doing that. I mean, this is getting out of control. What's happening over here? These drones are going to become more and more deadly every single day, and it's just crazy information coming out. Now for Megatron, Ron breaking failed assassination attempt on Russian President Putin. Russian AD commander of the region reports. Helicopter carrying the president became the target of a Ukrainian drone attack during his visit to the Kursk region. The 80 commander of the region reports that all drones were destroyed. So yeah, this was a very big report coming out yesterday, and because I wasn't here, just wanted to show you guys this real quick. Allegedly, Russian President Vladimir Putin was on a helicopter and was almost assassinated due to Ukrainian drones almost striking the helicopter he was in the Kursk region. Now, I'm not sure if this just happened yesterday or not, but the story came out. But we did know that the Russian president here did visit the Kursk region recently, just over like the last week. He was meeting with some of the regional administration officials in the Kursk region, probably also talking about this new buffer zone that's supposed to be trying to set up on the Russia side inside of Ukraine. So apparently he narrowly escaped an assassination attempt as Ukrainian drones were trying to strike his helicopter he was in. So that'd be crazy if that actually happened and he was assassinated in that way. But it looks like the drones were shot down or prevented from striking the helicopter he was in. That was yesterday. Now from Liskovka, Air Defense Forces of Ukraine shot down 9 out of 9 Russian missiles, neutralized 28 out of 355 UAVs. 233 were shot down by firepower, 55 were locally lost, suppressed by electronic warfare. Okay, so here's a report to the amount of munitions entering into Ukraine last night. Lots of drones you can see here, okay? 364 in total, 9 missiles, 355 UAVs, so lots and lots of drones and missiles entering in Ukraine. Looks like they shot down a good majority of these or brought down by electronic warfare. Now from the Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of May 26, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of May 26, 1,000 troops, 8 AFVs, 92 vehicles and fuel tanks, 4 tanks, 51 artillery systems, 264 UAVs, 1 MLRS, 53 cruise missiles, 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems, and it looks like that is it, guys. So a lot more numbers here than what we normally see, especially on this side. 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems. Those are probably the ones that I reported on Saturday. We had a TOR system being destroyed and possibly maybe another one. And 53 cruise missiles. These were a lot of those missiles coming into Ukraine early Sunday morning or late Saturday night while I wasn't here for you guys to show this information. But nonetheless, still over here about average numbers. Not a whole lot of change here with a lot of these tank numbers and AFVs. Still pretty low for the most part across the board. Same thing with the troop numbers. We've been hovering around 1,000 for the past 3 or 4 days now. So not a whole lot being destroyed aside from like cruise missiles over here on this side. And huge updates coming out from this war today, guys. I want to thank you very much for tuning in on, again, today's date, May 26, 2025. And I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day today. Get out there and enjoy yourselves. Get some sunshine. Hang out with the family. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.